Hi everybody, so my name is Rhea, and for this report I decided to interview my grandma. Her name's Emilia Gallegos Marcelino, and she actually immigrated to the United States in the year 1976, and at that time she was 34 years old. Um, I guess in order to fully understand what went on, you have to start with my great-grandma, which is my grandma's mom. And so my great grandma, her name was Francisca Gallegos. She was actually born in Hawaii on the island of Kauai. So that meant that she was automatically a U.S. citizen. Um, Later in her life, she decided to go back to the Philippines, and that's where she had her 10 children, and my grandma was the eldest of them all. Um, Around the time that she went back, though, World War II broke out, and so she was, to her knowledge, that she couldn't go back to the United States. And so for several years she stayed in the Philippines with her family. And then in 1969, she and five of her kids, including my grandma, decided to get a passport to come back to the United States. Um, so at that time, my great grandma and four of her kids left. My grandma, on the other hand, decided to stay with her family because she was already married to my grandpa at that time, and she had four children that she needed to take care of. In 1971, my grandpa, he insisted to go first, so my grandma filled out paperwork for him, and so he left the Philippines first and went to Hawaii, where he worked at a laundry, this place called Young Laundry, for a little bit, and then he found work in the not immigration, in the sugar plantations. And then in 1976, he asked if my grandma could, he asked my grandma if she could visit him. And of course, yes, because they've spent so much time apart. And so my grandma went up there, and during that time, my grandpa convinced her to stay, and he said, "Oh yeah, we can always go back the following year. We'll just visit the Philippines." And in that time, they decided to make Hawaii their permanent home. After deciding that, they also needed to bring over their children. So in 1978, that's when my grandparents brought over their four children. One of them would be my dad. So as far as my grandparents' story goes, the reason for their immigration, or their reason to immigrate, was because of pull factors. My grandpa left the Philippines in order to work in the sugar plantations in Hawaii, and while in Hawaii, he lived in the plantation home in the city of Waipahu. And when his family came over, they settled in that home, and they later moved to the city of Eva, which was another hub for plantation workers. As far as I'm concerned, I also looked up events that was taking place in the Philippines at that time to see if there were any push factors for my grandparents. But at that time, I know that there was a man named Ferdinand E. Marcos he was the president, but at that time there was a lot of civil disorder, and there was a lot of problems in power. So as far as my grandparents' story is concerned, I'm not sure if that was their reason for leaving the Philippines, but it could be the reason for other people leaving and going to America. And that's everything. And yeah, thanks for watching.